Welcome to selfdiscoveryradio.com, where the orchard of wisdom is just ready for picking. We celebrate your why, the journey that you've taken that inspires someone else. We support your services, we support your story. Come and be our guest, become a host, be an author with us. Come and see what we've got. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Raising Our Gifted Children. I'm your host, Sara Troy, and my guests today are Duwati Asido. She's been here before, Pasdeo. She's been here before. She's beautiful. You're going to know why she's back again. Sally Saint, who I had on here in September. You're going to understand why she's back here again. We're going to be talking about a serious subject, a fun subject, and something that I think is all too much needed today. But each one of them have sent a little blurb that I want to open up the show with. And I'm going to start off with mine. Why not? And we're going to show you what we're going to be addressing today. But as you can see, I'm wearing lovely dangly earrings, a spotty top. We want to make sure this is a light show, but at the same time, I'm addressing the issues. So this is what I say. Smile and the whole world smiles with you. Laughter is the best medicine, but if you cry alone. A smile begets a smile, as does a laugh. But why do tears make us alone? And when those tears are a cry for help, we cannot be alone. That is the time we need to step up. We must be there for those with the tears, through love and joy, and show them how to laugh at life and smile, for that is so beautifully contagious. And this is from Duwati. Why are teens more depressed than ever? In the US, teens take their own lives every 100 minutes. Oh, that's a terrible statistics. In the UK, suicide is the biggest killer of young people. When over 200 school children lost to suicide every year. Experts say teens feel more hopeless and helpless than previous years. Why is this? We need to provide more coping skills and surviving in chaotic times, and we must nurture self-love, respect for life, grow hope, not despair, and most of all, learn how to laugh at life, ourselves, and with each other, for that is the healing method. And Sally's contribution is going with the inner child, informing how children support us in accessing this magical energy, inviting us to do the inner child work. Yes, to heal, but also to have fun. Children smile on an average of 400 times a day. Adults 30 to 40, 400 to 30 to 40 folks. Oh boy, what happened in between? Disconnection from our inner joy, our inner child, by hurts, experiences, pain. Reconnect with the inner child and get your smiles back. Well, this is where we're at today, folks. It's all about igniting our beautiful smiles again and showing the world all the love in our heart. Welcome, ladies.
Hi, Sarah.
Hello.
So
Hello.
this is okay, because when I speak, the camera goes in. So Duaki's with the dark hair, Sally's with the blonde hair, just in case you're needing to know, folks. And as I said, I'm wearing me kind of paraphernalia today because it's about lightening up a tough subject. But I'm going to go to each one of you first, just to kind of speak to what you do and, you know, what you're thinking on the subject here. So Duati, I'm going to start with you, love.
Okay, well, basically my passion is working with young people, and I do that mostly through my yoga. So I'm a children and a teenagers yoga teacher. And when I read all these growing statistics on self-harm, depression, suicide, as a parent as well, I'm shocked. I can't believe, and I don't understand why the figures are getting bigger. So I think today it'll be quite nice just to chat through with Sally and yourself why we think this is happening and what we can do as, you know, as their peer, like adults, to support young people to kind of work in a way that these statistics stop and then start reducing.
Most certainly. Sally?
Yeah, hi. I work with the parents. I work in my son's school also. I volunteer and work there. But my work is supporting parents in and blocking their blocks and embracing the child that they've got in front of them, helping them reconnect with the child that they've got and see the many gifts that they've got. But ultimately, I feel more of a bridge between the understanding of the adult and the child, especially when things break down, and to help them see the beauty and the wonder that a child child gives us every single day, and that's irrelevant of if they've got a syndrome or a label on them. What they bring to your life is phenomenal, and they require us to heal. So this is why parents struggle, and then the issues that they have with the children are mirroring very often what's going on inside of them. So the child is bringing up big things for them, and then they're like, what do I do? Your child is calling you to heal, and very often when we have a child, our childhood comes up to face us. And so this is why the importance of inner child work, and because you work with it, and then you can connect with that joy again. You have to heal. So when you do the inner child work, there's healing to do, but then ultimately you connect with that joy, and your inner child will help you with that joy, and so will your child in front of you help you immensely.
Yeah, I mean, I say, all the time right now, our children are gifted, hence the title of the show.
Yes.
We have such profound children in front of us right now, gifted with skills, with tools, with simple wisdom. And I think, as you say, it is a reconnection to our inner child. And I can tell you with anybody that I've interviewed and counseled through the years that have issues, whether it be with their boss, with their husband, with friends, with family, it all comes back to the inner child. And somewhere along the line, that child has been wounded. And that permission to the 400 smiles a day down to the 40, which is way too much, all of a sudden that permission to smile has gone. That permission to have joy, to be silly billies, just to get out there and feel the exuberance of life is being diminished. And we need to bring that back for sure, because if we don't, what wonders we're losing out on. Listen to your children and the way they see life, the way they interact with life. Let us learn from them and ignite that inner child again, because then we will actually understand as an adult how utterly beautiful their joy is, right?
Absolutely, and it is. So embrace it, allow the healing. The healing it can feel very painful. There's almost a purging when things come out, but it's far better than that dull ache that gnaws away at you and keeps you serious.
I mean, as you were saying, Duarte, with the suicide rate, I mean, they're our hope, our future. They're our future leaders. And here they are just seeing no future, no place for them in the world, and their only way out is suicide. This is terrifying.
It's hard to imagine. They say it's difficult to understand how someone can be feeling so desperate unless you've been through that situation yourself. So for me, I find it hard to imagine what it must feel like when you see that as your only option. And as a young person, when we're growing up, that's when we're the most excited about life, because everything's fresh and exciting. So for me, looking back at my teenage years, becoming a teenager was an exciting new adventure beginning. So I find it difficult to put myself in the shoes of a teenager who feels there's no hope, there's no future, and they choose that their only option is to kind of like terminate their life. So for me, it's like when you're born, when I work with very young kids, there's so much joy, like Sally said, the inner child's there, fresh, and they're happy and they're joyful. And so from a toddler to a teenager, I know what's happening, as a society, that this is kind of growing and increasing. So it's just, and I think when we're born, we're just full of love. And then to make that choice, we make different choices. So we go from making choices based on love to choices based on fear. So for me, it's like, why do we move so far away from love to places of fear and make, fear-driven choices? Even with gangs and stabbings, which is also growing at the moment, that's a fear-based choice. So how can we get our young to kind of re-embrace the love and make love-based choices as opposed to fear-based choices? So I think that's something that we as adults need to look at within the education system, how we can incorporate that, different activities to support that in the curriculum, because it seems to be we're growing in fear as opposed to growing in love. And like you said, our inner child is love. So how do we get back to being full of love and joy, and as opposed to fearful.
But also, Sally, how do you keep that love? I mean, when you have a child, you feel the love, that baby in your arms, even when it's growing inside of you, that love, and everything they do brings a smile to your face, and that joy that's there. And as you said, it brings out that inner child in you. So where along the line does it happen as the child gets older that they step from love into fear? And we as parents lose that beautiful, loving exuberance that we've got from the child and don't recognize the fear. What's happening? Why are we not seeing it?
One of the pivotal things I feel is that you honour the individuality of your child as they go out into the world. We touched on the schooling system. The schooling system is the first world away from your arms, isn't it? And so that it's very important what the school is like. And also, if it's not the best of schools, then you do your damnedest to give them their utmost authentic time when they're at home. I am blessed that my son goes to an independent school, and I chose this school. I moved to be to this school. I knew it was important. And they've got a rehabilitation unit there for children traumatized by the school system. So I see the youngsters, I see the teens coming in there who are mute, who won't come out of their rooms, who want to kill themselves, so I've seen the extreme. And then also I've seen these children who are coming in whose parents are choosing this school, who are being nurtured, and they fly. So I see the children who have maintained their authenticity, and I work there and I see it, and it is medicine for the soul. When I see it, it is absolutely beautiful. So what happens is an erosion of themselves. They start to feel that being themselves isn't okay. It's that
Is it a reverse
gentle
mirroring? When you see the inner child, it brings out the childlike in you again. But does there somewhere along the line the child start seeing the pain inside the adult and start mirroring that?
Absolutely. And that's what I will also say from a child's perspective. They would rather have a parent that's authentic than someone that's hiding the pain.
Right.
So I have found, and I've found this with my child and with others, I've seen with others as well, that if you are releasing and you are allowing yourself to feel, they would rather that than the pent up parent who's going, everything's okay, but it's not, and they can see that they're forcing it. So you teach them a lot about humanness by allowing yourself to be human, because they already do. They express beautifully through a day. So yes, as your child grows, they see more and more the people in front of them, and the greatest gift you can give your child is work on yourself. And that's quite tough, because it's very easy for us to say, well, the school should do this, and yes, they should, and other factions should do this, and society should change, social media should be different, what they cover in all the magazines should be different, and yes, all these things play their part, but the home and us, we're continuing to work on ourselves. That's where it comes from. And we are the role models more by our behavior than what we say as well. So
now, I'm hearing a mom in the background as somebody being called, because I perfectly understand if you need to go and address a child right now. So.
May I? Because you seem quite persistent.
Yes, Mum, Yorkshire puddings.
This is mum mode.
Yes. That's the thing. It doesn't matter who you are or what you do. When you're called to arms, so to speak, to the children, you've got to go, right, Dewadi?
It's true, and they come first. And as a mom, you just have to multitask as well. So it's great. But what Sally was saying, I know Sally's worked directly with teenagers who are feeling challenges. It's a shame she's gone, because it would be interesting to hear what the young person. I think we need to let the young people, like a young person, speak. Really, we should have had a young person in on this conversation as well, because so that they could share their views on the subject, because it's, as adults, we can look from outside and try and understand what's going on within their different mindsets, but it's important for their voice to be heard on the subject as well. So maybe next time Sally's back now, we could ask one of the young
Yorkshire puddings are okay, right?
The basic need was food.
Right, of course.
Very important.
Yes, of course. She was saying while you were gone that, that it would have been great to have actually had a teenager here. And I have actually many, many a time tried to have, teenagers on here and speak to us, educate us as to what you need. We don't want you going down the rabbit hole. How could you go from this beautiful, exuberant child, chasing rainbows and absolutely loving life, to suddenly locking yourself in a room and being utterly depressed and hating life? How can you do that? The parent immediately goes into guilt mode. What did I do wrong? Should I have done something differently? Imagine the parent of a child who's committed.
And sometimes some parents don't even realize their children are feeling that way until, tragedy hits. And then everybody's really surprised. They can't imagine
I didn't see it.
Felt like that. I mean, Sally, you've probably spoken directly to teenagers. What feedback have they given you on how and why they're feeling like that?
My feeling has been from all these children, and that some path along the way, they felt like it wasn't okay to be them. And so whether it was somebody, a teacher, or whether it was a group of children around them, they felt, but there was that time when they felt it wasn't okay and they were conforming. And it's that moment when they start to conform is when they start to lose touch with their inner voice, because they're no longer listening to what's inside. We have these basic, but they're not basic, they're amazing instincts. And those instincts, that's what we see with a younger child, is that they're totally in tune. There was something on Facebook today which really epitomized it for me. There was a mother that died when they gave birth, but the heart was given to somebody else. And it showed a picture of the baby, and they were just showing the baby was held by various people, get distressed, held by this person who'd had the mother's heart, and how that baby responded. It was absolutely phenomenal. So hearing that heartbeat in that womb for 9 months, that baby knew the mother's heart. And so this is instinct. The baby was hearing, but the baby sensed, the baby knew, and there was absolute joy in this baby at connecting with the mother's heart again. So as children, we have these instincts and we listen to them. And then somewhere along the line, this disconnection happens. Somewhere along the line, we are told it's not okay to be sensitive or whatever, but we're told something, and that's when that disconnection just starts, and it eats away. It's not okay to be me. I must be this. I must be that. As I understand from my also perspective, I was one of those children who was the frightened child, and also the teen that just blanked myself. I was not the happy. I was the one that, and so I understand from my own path that I tried to be a role for my mother, who was, I was the fourth child. There was lots of stuff going on in the home. She put everything into mothering. So I knew my role was to keep her happy, was what I felt. I was bullied at school. I suppressed things, but my face would show nothing, but I was terrified. And so I came from a place of fear, and I learned to normalize that in a way. So I understand completely when I see these teens and when I see what's gone from them. My sensitivity wasn't able to blossom because of, there was an alcoholic that lived in the home, an alcoholic workman, from before I was born until I was 10. I've blanked him out. I've got 3 memories of him. And so he controlled my mother, because that's what alcoholics do. So this is the impact of the people around us. Yeah. And then we go out into the world with this. But what I learned gives me the passion to support others in maintaining the authenticity of the child, honoring what the child has. There are so many sensitive children coming through, and they are so needed for this world.
You're
so
right. Yeah,
I understand completely, and I understand those dark moments. There were times I was so afraid. I was being continually bullied at school and nothing was happening. There was stuff going on at home where I didn't feel safe. So I understand completely what these teens are going through, because I lived it.
Right. And I had different
I am thankful. I am thankful that I
Yes.
lived it, because I'm doing something with it.
Well, this is what I said, it's for everybody I've interviewed that is in some way there as a healing, for people today. Is because they've been through it. And part of it is, it's the journey. I mean, it's part of the life journey, isn't it? To go through these things, to discover our strength, discover our courage, discover the reason why we're here. I think there's very, very few of us that haven't thought of suicide along the line, because, especially as a teenager, as you said, if you don't fit in, if you get bullied, if you don't feel you fit in at home, if you feel no one's hearing you, no one's seeing you, and nobody likes you because you're different, then it's like, well, why am I here? And for some people, I don't think they mean to carry it out. I think it's a cry for, does anyone see me? And whatever they take ends up, unfortunately, going too far. But I don't think they all actually intend to actually die. I think it's a call for help. What do you say, Duarte?
Well, it's definitely a call for help, and I definitely think the education system needs to look at nurturing from a very young age, just self-love within, and reinforcing that within a young person. So then when they do go through life and they do have different challenges, and they are challenged on different thoughts and feelings about their personal identity, they can fully embrace and be really strong and confident and love themselves, and value all their uniqueness. And just by just little tiny exercises can reinforce that from a very young age. One of the exercises that I do in my yoga class is we'll get a jigsaw puzzle. We put a jigsaw puzzle together, and just from doing that simple basic exercise, we see that all the jigsaw puzzle pieces are different shapes, different sizes, different colors, but each piece plays a unique and important role in making the complete picture. Excellent. So when a young person from a very young age just kind of acknowledges that and acknowledges their uniqueness, and they know that they play an equally important role in life to everybody else, that is really nurturing and empowering. Just little simple exercise like that. And even this week I was just taking pictures, and you sort of observe a bumblebee, and you think of the role that the bumblebee does in life to pollinate, and how it supports the ecosystem, the survival of the planet. And sometimes in schools, you always hear about the lion. The lion has the fiercest roar. We all want to be a lion. But then if you kind of explain to a young person, well, the lion has one role, the bumblebee has another role, and they're each contributing differently. And just because the lion might be louder or fiercer, but the role that the bumblebee contributes to the world is by far bigger, is the survival of the planet. So when a young person kind of understands and embraces the different uniqueness, and you don't have to be so loud to be making a big contribution to the world, and just to own their own unique gifts and contributions from a young age, then that supports them in being happier and just sharing their personal gifts with the world. So hopefully that will help combat those feelings of not being good enough or having despair and wanting to give up on life. So those are just different, there's just so many different tools that we can share with a young person that will support their mental health and well-being, and give them that extra confidence boost and self-love, that hopefully when they become a teenager, they won't be feeling so despondent and so hopeless with their future.
See, you've hit on something very important here, is tools. I think one of the problems is, you say, kids went to go and learn at school, and it was teaching them things that they're going to apply in their life, that's going to help them get a good job, get further ahead. But somewhere along the line, it became a doctrine of dictatorship and conformity. And school is meant to be about exploration, adventurism, inquisitiveness, the exploring the greater outlooks. And it is a place of structure. So it's allowing the imagination to reach the universe and beyond. And then coming back and saying, from that, what can I do to build a structure that will get me to the universe, or allow me to do this, or allow me to do that. And I think somewhere along the line, we have got into the dictatorship of how we should use our knowledge, instead of the intuitiveness of our knowledge and the exploration of our knowledge, and learning the various tools that we need in order to build the structure that our knowledge is founded on.
I know, and a lot of teachers feel that way as well. They feel it's all about achieving results, figures, test marks. And in a way, I think I know the education system is looking more into mindfulness now, and a few bringing in, different things. But we need to do a lot more, a lot quicker, and it needs to innovate because the world's changing, and there's so many different challenges that young people are facing. So really, those who are in a position where they can make changes in the curriculum need to kind of really sit down and think, how can we innovate our education system, because the world is a whole different place now, and we need to accommodate to meet the needs of the young people.
Our kids are ahead of us. Our kids are ahead of us. You know, you give them something technical, you give them something like a puzzle, you give them something, just an understanding. You know, I don't know if the elevation of their frequency or the connection of accessing different parts of the brain, but our kids are smarter than us.
They are. Mine definitely are.
Well, and we need to look at the curriculum and say, are we keeping up with them? Because they're going ahead of us.
The curriculum is still the majority of the curriculum is as when we were children. So even though technology's advanced, the internet, the social media, the education system hasn't advanced in line with that.
And I think something else that they've lost, which I'm sure, Sally, you can speak to, is the art of a camaraderie, of playing together, of communicating together, because some have adopted technology and using the technology in replacement of. And one of the things that we're losing is we're seeing kids, it's all about the texting, it's all about the social media, it's all about the emoji movies, just blind bottle, really. And it's like, can you sit down and go face to face and have a conversation? No. And that's something they've lost, because in some ways they've gone too far the other way, and they haven't brought back of playing silly putty on the table together, or building a puzzle together, or the teacher bringing something around and letting everybody speak. We're losing the art of communication. I think most of the teenagers' problems are they don't feel heard or seen, right? They don't feel they belong. They're being bullied and nobody seems to care. But one of the big problems is they don't know how to articulate how they feel. They don't know how to speak it, and they don't know whom to speak it to, because that conversation has been shut down somewhere along the line.
Yeah, absolutely. And also then the social media feels like a safe zone,
Yeah.
because they can put their words out there and they feel it be heard. But also if they're playing games or whatever, they feel they're in control of them. So that if their world is out of control, that's the world they can live in. But it's not a real world. It is no substitute. So it is something like, we all talk of social media and things, and it is in life. So it is a part of life, but it doesn't need to be the whole of, or in replacement of. And also I am aware that parents can be afraid. So the games and the social media may feel like a safer place for their children to be than actually playing. So there's that fear based as well. And yet, isn't it statistically, it was as dangerous years ago as it was now? It's just that it's more talked about, more, and it's more often people in the home than it is strangers anyway, or awful things happen. But I think it's part of that safety net, that people think it's safer, but it's a virtual world and it is no replacement. And there is nothing like looking into someone else's eyes. And when you hold a child when they're younger, they look right in. So that dropping off when they get older, that they don't look you in the eye, where did that come from?
Right.
That absolute, it's almost like they're hiding their souls. They are not showing anything. Yeah, they drop their heads, they don't look. And we all know that when we walk by teens in the street, they won't look. And I'll say I'd say a hello to bring them, because they're going like this, and it will make them look up and look you in the eyes for a glimpse. But that almost unease and unsureness, and that it's so sad, because it's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
that deep connection with somebody, it's so pure.
Yeah. Now the thing is with yoga, it's a wonderful way of calmness, finding your inner peace, a place to go to when the turmoil feels like it's spinning out of control, where you can go in and calm the waters. But in doing it with the family, doing it with a parent, I imagine is so impactful, because you can both go in there with your chaotic worlds and find that inner peace together, and then be able to look at each other in the eyes, because you've brought yourselves back to your center. Do you find this, Dewadi?
I haven't done so many yoga classes within the family setting. Mostly it's just within schools, with your peer group. But one exercise that I do, when Sally just mentioned about looking into each other's eyes, I do have an exercise where we will sit opposite a partner, we do look into each other's eyes, and we do share emotions so that they recognize that that's another person just like me. And I think just doing little exercises like that kind of reinforces that connection with each other, that you do.
You're not alone.
Yeah, and you see
somebody
that
else like that too.
you're looking into, they're the same as me. You both feel sad, you both feel happy, and we're all connected, we're all one. Communicating with parents, like you said, yoga in a family situation, that, like you just explained, Sarah, that would be a wonderful way to connect with a young person in your life, a teenager, or even when they're younger. I don't think so many parents do it. It's quite a novelty. But if more parents did embrace it, it would be a really lovely activity that you could do together and build and bond. And then that opens up communication, because, as you said earlier, the challenge is with all the gadgets, with all the gaming, getting your child to talk to you and communicate, especially when they reach teenage years. As a parent, that becomes more challenging, and it's crazy because I have an 11 and 12-year-old, and they'll come home from school and I'll go, "How was school today?" And I'll be like, I'm trying to get
yes.
they're 11 and 12, and I'm glad does this get
I'm afraid it gets worse before it gets better.
And I've been told by other parents this is what happens.
Yes.
And now I'm experiencing it myself, and I'm quite proactive in that I do try and get them to tell me about their day, and I'm surprised at how the communication does start. It's so much less from when they're at primary school. When they come from primary school, like, they're chattering, they tell you about their day, and when they do hit teenage years, it's like mum's,
What does mum know? Mum's just an idiot. Yes, I know. But there was a
game. So I can understand how other parents feel. Right. It's even if you really want to be fully involved, for some reason, teenagers kind of.
I know it's they lose that ability. But we talked about, when you slipped out there, the big word, right? Food. Right? Now, food. My kids are in their 30s. Right? No. Seriously, take this tip, folks. My kids are in their 30s, but what I had always, from when they were young right up, is food when they came home from school, and whoever they brought home. All right. And it was, grabbing the food, and while they're eating, you're chatting to them. They bring their friends over. And what happened with me in particular is the friends felt it was a place where they felt safe. And it was their friends that would come to me when they were in trouble. Their friends that would come to me for looking for comfort, or be my son calling me up at midnight saying, "There's a 12-year-old kid out here who needs to get home, and the parent won't come and pick her up," and I'll go and pick that child up, and you build that trust, you build that bond. But it was around the food. I always had a round table for the food, and it'd be who's here for supper, and very often friends staying over. And sometimes it was challenging, financially, but it was something that you did, because then it was always around the table. It was where we have a discussion. And it wasn't like you're going to eat and run. This was the time we're going to talk about whatever, nothing taboo. And, you approached it, age related to what your answers would be, but nothing was taboo. And that kept the dialogue going. And my kids were happy to bring me people that nobody was listening to. And so, always with your own kids, there's things I found out later that they were doing that had I known at the time. You know? But that's part of, you know, being a mother of a teenager, is a lot of white light and please God, you know, a lot of that. But then, you know, I think I've said before in the shows, is like coming to a crossroads in life, having to make a decision of going that easy road, that road of angst, that road, you know, of point of no return, or, you know, kind of coming back home, so to speak, to their inner person. And, you know, my son saying to me, I saw your love, I saw your face, Mum, and I didn't go down that road. So, you know, this is what we're wanting to build up in them as children, to know the boundaries, the moral boundaries, the heart boundaries, the spirit boundaries, the ethical boundaries. They're going to push those limits. But if they always feel safe to come home, and you can give them a knock, what were you thinking, you idiot? But they know that isn't a judgment on how you love them, right? Yeah. It's an addressing of the situation, and that together we're going to get through this. And I think sometimes you have to just turn a blind eye or shut up. This isn't the time to speak. And then there's other times you step up and say, I see you, I hear you, let's do this together. And it's just having an arena where they feel comfortable enough to open up. And I guarantee you, food is a good basis.
Oh, you know, that is great. And what I do with my son Christopher is we have a cooking session together. So he'll decide something to cook, and we get the ingredients and we do cooking, and that's a really nice way to bond. And he does open up and talk, and you know, and that's like a fun way to interact. But also what you just mentioned about home being that safe place where a child knows they can come, you know, when everything else is falling apart. But then there are some children who don't have that kind of home as well.
And it's finding that person in the neighborhood. It was. Yeah, I was that person.
Which is really lovely.
Right. But it's somewhere amongst your friends. You've got somebody who's got a home like that, and feeling safe enough to go to even that parent.
Yeah,
or
teacher
or whatever. Yeah. Finding somebody outside of that home that, you know, that is.
They feel is neutral to the situation as well.
Yes. Yes. Really important.
You can be the light for a child without being their parents. So if they do not have a great childhood, they don't have a great life at home, you showing them love and showing them non-judgment is enough to spark in them that life can be different, and they will follow it later on. So never underestimate your role in any child's or teen's life, irrelevant of whether they're blood or not.
Well, you know, it's like we opened up with, you know, smile begets a smile. You know, when somebody smiles, you smile back. You know, when somebody's laughing, how contagious is that? Right? And it's just sometimes, as you said, walking down the street and saying hello, and that child looks up and giving them a smile. Maybe that's the smile they needed that day. Oh, somebody saw me. Somebody cares. You know, and that is that not what we're looking at in life when people feel that no one cares? Isn't that the reason why people exit? Nobody cares if I live or die. Yeah. And then they challenge that. How about we show them we care? And let's bring that smile. Let's start with the smile. Let's inject some laughter into them. You know, it's hard to be really sad. You can have that hysterical laugh, you know, where you start off laughing and then it goes into tears, but that's okay. You know, that's releasing. But don't ever underestimate the power of a smile.
Oh yeah, no, a smile is so amazing. In my second book that I'm writing, Magnificent Me, Magnificent You, it's based there's a really beautiful spiritual message about the smile, and the smile is an expression of love.
Yes.
When we, you know, go to our core. So it's like when you're smiling at someone, you're sharing that expression of love. So you're sharing love with them, and they can feel that. They feel that love. So, you know, like you said, Sarah, it's like that little smile can make all the difference to someone's day. Just to receive that smile, and it's communicating with each other. Like Sally said, looking in the eye, smiling, just acknowledging each other instead of, like Sally said, maybe looking down and just feeling like you're just alone in the world.
It's fuel for the generator, isn't it? You know, it's igniter of the love generator. You know, as a child, they have it in abundance, and people can't help but love those babies, and it's being poured into them. Generators constantly going with love.
Yeah,
And
and
then,
you see a baby smile. You see just
yes,
a baby smile. Your whole being
yes.
and your whole self just lights
And
up.
those giggles,
Just
I don't care who you
yeah.
are, you know, you
It's
start
like
hearing a kid laughing and it's like
yeah,
the penny in
everyone
the
seeing a
machine.
baby smile just
Yeah,
feels the love, and you just feel so much. It's like
exactly. So why can't we push that button, you know, the generator button, and top it up with some love, unconditional, unjudgmental love, and
yeah,
ignite that smile again? Because I think somewhere along the line, they run out of fuel in their generator and they don't know how to laugh or smile at anything anymore. And even
yeah,
if they're in a home that is not abusive or anything else, they're feeling a disconnect, because it could be from school, it could be from their friends, you know, and God forbid they should be a different sexual orientation, or God forbid they want to do a different career than what their parents want them to have, or God forbid they're a different faith, or God forbid they fall in love with the wrong girl or wrong boy, you know. And it's all of those things that when you're a teenager are magnified by 10 million%, right? And it's really, really hard for them to cope with it, with all the ranging hormones. They haven't yet got all the tools to deal with all the emotions that are coming through those hormones. And then they've got all the exterior going on. And, you know, they say the survival of the fittest. If you can get through your teens, you can get through anything. You know, it's what you come out with your teens is something that's going to get you for anything in life. But it's keeping that generator going, that love generator going, and the smile. They're letting them know you care. You know, saying to your son when your sons, when you know that they've got a friend in trouble, why don't you have so and so come over for dinner? Why don't you have them over for a play event? You know, and letting that kid know that you see them, that you hear them, that you care. And as you say, just maybe enough to kind of stop them spiraling down.
Yeah.
yeah. And I think that's really important as well. What you've just shared for parents, we need to, you know, support and educate parents on how they can communicate in a more positive way to young people, because they play such an important and influential role as well in a young person's life. And a lot of parents might not even realize that they could be doing a lot more.
Got to remember the child within them.
Yeah, so
I
they
mean,
need a bit of nurturing as well.
I don't understand. I do understand it, but I don't. When somebody's been injured as a child, somebody's been hurt, they've been abused, and they fall in love with someone, and yet they continue that abuse. They know what it's like to receive that abuse, to be in such pain, yet they then go and inflict that pain on people they love. And what I don't understand why they do it, but I also understand why, and the why is because they know nothing differently.
Yeah, I think
They
that's the
haven't
key thing that
they
you've just
haven't learned to
said.
love themselves yet. They haven't learned to heal themselves yet, have they, Sally? So
No.
they're walking around this wounded person, and all they know how to do is inflict that pain because nobody's shown them anything else.
Absolutely. And the abused and the abuser is flip side of the same coin.
Yeah.
So I understand completely. And also it's for us to release and cap and forgiveness, isn't it? And
Yes.
you have to forgive yourself. And there's, as a child, we go from a non-judgmental, we don't judge anything, to then adults, we're surrounded by adults who judge everything. It's like a world where everything feels like the world is expansive, to suddenly this is good, that's not good, emotions are good, no they're not, you know.
What's that smile about? Must be something
Exactly.
sinister.
So for a child, if you can see from a child's
Yeah.
perspective that suddenly they're surrounded by, oh my God, so what am I supposed to do? Because that's certainly not right. That's not okay.
Yes.
I can't express myself. I must be good. You know, I remember when my child was a certain age, and I think he was about 2 or something, there was good around all the time. And I thought, that's more like you talk to a dog, good boy, good,
Yes.
you know. And it's like, it's training them. And it's just, that's good, but that's not. And yes, there's a yes and no. I'm not saying that there's boundaries.
I do and don't, yeah.
But, yeah, but this is about behavior. Children get trained, and when a trauma happens, how does it suddenly, like you said, the abused and the abuser, how does somebody who's become abused become an abuser? That trauma is so deep inside, and there's a program, and it feels so uncomfortable. And I have talked to people where family lines have continued, and I understand, and that flip side of the coin, same kind of thing. But it is so difficult and so deep, and it's it's just like this ball inside you when you think about it.
Yeah.
We all think about when somebody hurts somebody else, how it would feel, and it is a very deep subject. But those people have been so wounded that it's just, it's almost an automatic response to, they love, then they give everything. When they love someone, they give everything. So they give everything that they had when they loved their parent or loved their whatever, and it happened. When you love someone, you bring everything to them that is unhealed, and everything that's happened, you deliver it all, and it's hard.
Yeah.
Like, I've experienced things in the past, and it's that person, has still got a heart. They still got a heart that beats.
Yeah.
So it is, and it is part of our path to forgive, come to that point of forgiveness. But we learn so much about ourselves to get to that point of forgiveness when things happen.
And I think too, and as your children get older, you'll see this. It was my children started articulating what was going on with me. They were not going to be tolerating what behavior was towards me anymore, but they also weren't going to tolerating me taking it anymore.
Yes.
And it was like, no, Mum, you're not going to do this. You're not going to take that. Put a stop to it. And I didn't know how, because you're in trauma mode, right? And it was my kids, speaking out and speaking to me and speaking up for me that gave me, okay. I guess there is a way out of this. I thought I had to suffer this until all the children had grown up and left home and all of that. And it was like, God, no, this is going to stop now. And it's like the kids gave me permission to have life. And that was, wow, what a gift.
I know. And sometimes we think adults know more, but young people, they're wiser, and they have so much to share, and they have, fresh eyes as well, to give us new options. So like,
but you hit the word wiser. You see, we may have more knowledge, but without the wisdom, how do we use that knowledge? They instinctually have the wisdom of what knowledge they do have. They haven't learned yet to kind of separate that. So out of the mouths of babes, right, comes some profound truths. And we cannot dismiss it, because they're children, what do they know? Well, they're speaking from a divine essence. They're speaking from a core essence. And the message they're giving you at that moment is the message you need to hear. Pay attention.
I know, and they're so wise, and we see it all the time. They haven't been conditioned or kind of like forced down a certain path. So when you're young and new, your mind is just so fresh, and you're connected to the core, your inner wisdom. So we can learn so much from very, very young kids before they start being conditioned. And just the way, like when they interact with each other, there's just pure unconditional love. They don't judge each other. If you go to a preschool, they'll share, they'll play. They don't judge to color or religion or, status, finances. It's just, we're all here playing.
Vibrational love, right? That connection.
Joy.
Yes.
Joy. Absolute joy.
And then you look to the grown-up world, there's all this separation, segregation.
I know. It's like, it's interesting, because I know a woman right now who was abandoned by her mother when she was 3, and the father was an alcoholic, and he couldn't cope with the 3 children, so off to foster care she went. And also the educational system abandoned her as well, deemed that she was uneducatable and didn't. Later on, she went to go and get her education because she felt cheated, and she, has managed to get her own home and run a business and create something. But she keeps ostracizing people because that inner child keeps lashing out. She wants to make friends, she wants that nurture, she wants that love, and then she'll attack it. And then she pushes everyone away. And it's unfortunately until she's ready to see the pattern and seek the help to remove that pattern, there's nothing you can do other than pray that they will get that help. But the very thing that she wants is what she attacks. And this is so common, isn't it, Sally?
Absolutely, you see it time and time and again. It's a program inside,
Yeah,
and it's that when somebody gets too close, what do? You push them away
yeah.
because you've been taught by those that you loved the separation, whatever, the abandonment,
Hmm.
abuse, whatever. So you only let people in so far, and unfortunately, you are then the people you do let in are the ones actually that will let you down. So as you
Yeah.
get it's reinforced then. This world is no good. This is, you can't trust anybody because it's just that repeating of a pattern until you're ready to heal. And it's that thing of you can't force yourself inside somebody when they're not ready. You can't,
Right.
if you offer them help, they will push it away
Yes.
because you'll still be, I'm not ready. And it's like energetically, there's no way I'm opening this door yet, so it's yeah,
Oh,
because
oh, the
you have to
denial too.
face,
The denial,
absolutely.
and
Yeah.
I'm going to hurt you before you hurt me.
Yes.
And then when you do hurt me, I didn't do anything. It's all you. It's a complete denial that you're the person in pain. But you've got to understand that you are inflicting that pain on all the people that are trying to love you. It's going back to
Absolutely.
that pain again. They're trying to love you. They're trying to care for you. But the closer they get, the more you keep slamming down the doors. And, people will walk away from that because they've got themselves to protect. The
Totally.
door gets slammed in their face. So ultimately in life, we have to actually understand that no matter what turmoil or pain or suffering we're in, it is up to us and our choice to choose to get out of it whichever way we can.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's like Sally said, it's from fear that that person is repeating those patterns and trying to put up barriers to protect themselves in their mind.
Yes.
So it's like, how do we support someone from making fear-driven choices to love, to going
Yeah.
back to a place of love where they can make choices from a position of love, which will help break the pattern. So
And
that's, that's what we need to
when
address.
does that become an addiction? Because I'm looking at this in many ways as a form of addiction, which there is an unknowing, unwilling addiction of constantly repeating the same cycle. Not because it feels good, but because it feels familiar. Does an addict shoot up? They feel good in the moment, but then in betweens they don't feel good. But they'll keep putting themselves down that same spiral all the time. It's, can we look at this constant repetitive pattern as a form of addiction? It's safer to blame everybody else than it is for me to do the work that I need to do and trust love again.
It almost becomes a comfort zone because it's what they know. So you
Right.
repeat it because you know exactly what's going to happen. If you let the same people in who are a particular type, you know that it will kick off. Then, but it's what you know. So it feels safer than going beyond, and it's that's almost a safety net mechanism. I know exactly what's going to happen. So it's almost a type of control.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know what will happen. I know what will happen. It
Mm-hmm.
will be this.
Yeah.
And it's the same.
Yeah.
I hear what you're both saying, and for me, what I find quite shocking as a whole in society, not just various groups, we seem to be going down this road where we're making everybody is putting up barriers to protect themselves.
Right.
They're making
Yes.
fear-driven choices, even in relationships. Everyone's just trying to keep all these different options to protect themselves because they're afraid of getting hurt or abused or taken advantage of, as opposed to just going wholeheartedly and just trusting and just believing in the good, in the greater good. Everyone seems, it just seems as a whole, as a whole across the board, there's so many fears kind of just rising up in so many different areas.
We're a
It is.
contradiction,
Yeah.
because, we so want to belong to a tribe. We so want to be a part of the village. We so want to be a contributor and to know that this is, quote, our family, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, we're so scared that we're going to get the door thrown in our face, or we don't, those people are going to turn on us. And that's what we project out, that we close the doors. And so we're contradicting ourselves and what we want and what we need, and our action.
Why do you think that might be, Sarah? Why do you think people are becoming so afraid?
Because as you said, I think we're protecting ourselves. You know, we're protecting that inner child. We become the parent of our inner child. And you know how a parent can be so utterly protective, right? From anyone else. Oh, no, you can't trust that kid. That kid snapped at you. Instead of understanding, why did the kid snap at us? You know, can we just let bygones be bygones and continue to play? We become on the defense all the time. And we're running at this high anxiety, high defense all the time. We don't know how to calm down. We don't know how to take a breath. We don't know how to be still. We don't know how to really assess the situation for what it really is, because there's so much hysteria going on around us. You know, I call it the CNN effect. Push that button, fear and hysteria, turn up the volume, and people are pitch, like they're being electrocuted, and they don't know how to calm down and take a breath and go, really, why did I get worked up over that?
Yeah, and that's where yoga comes in, because it does give you that space where you can calm down and take a breath. And when young people engage in activities like yoga, it supports them in kind of taking that breath to respond as opposed to react.
Yes.
You just kind of make, you know, kind of emotional choices, to just let the emotions settle and make a more gentle choice.
Well, that's the key, isn't it, Sally? You know, respond rather than react.
Absolutely, and it takes courage to not go down the fear path. We're surrounded by media that only tell us what they want us to tell us, and they tell us the big news, which is fear-based. You turn on, so I do not, and I don't let my son listen to any news. When it comes on the radio, it gets turned off, because they're not going to tell you anything positive. So what is the point of listening to all these things? Because it feeds into any fears we have inside. So if we want something, we focus on it. So if you have fear around you, it then feeds into this fear in here. It grows. So if we want positivity, we look for the positive. We look at the sunrise. We don't look at the newspapers. And also then the people next door may be saying whatever. Or it takes courage to go against a big system almost that's happening. You touched on it as well. There's like this vortex almost that's around you, on the world is doomed, you know, and you have that feel to then stand up and say, well, actually, no, it's not. And I do not believe that is so. It takes courage, and you have to face your own fears as well to do that, to say, no, I'm rising above it. Fears come from here, love comes from here. And it means dropping out of your mind and into this, because there is no fear in the heart.
Right. The heart only knows how to love. And when you're looking at a child, they're pure heart and spirit. They're pure soul. Right? They haven't learned yet to engage the mind. And you know, when you look at fear, what is it? It's all the chatter in the head. It's all the judgment. It's all the criticism. It's all the what ifs, you know, you know, and all the persecution. And that you end up persecuting yourself, because that's what that spiral does. It turns it back on you and makes you question yourself. And then you're in the center of the tornado and you don't know how to get out. And it's, well, take a deep breath, hold your breath, and drop down the center.
Or pop out the top.
Yes, right. You know, develop wings, whatever. Yeah, but the thing is, there is a way out. There is. You know, I've been in that tornado. I've been in that facing, do I want to live? I've been in that, you know, nobody loves me, nobody cares thing. I've been there. You know, I know what it's like, and it wasn't just in teenage years. It was an adult.
And how did you come out of that, Sarah? What was it that helped you?
Purpose. I'm a person that has to be of purpose. I have to serve others. But one of my things in life, I became a servant. So it was servitude. And it was me being of service to people, A, without gratitude, B, without, you know, without any self-respect or self-love. But it's finding a purpose that comes from your heart, your soul, and your spirit, and it comes from your self-love, and doing it because you love it, because you love the people you're doing it with, and finding that purpose, because that gives you the reason for being here. It gives you something to focus on. It gives you something to actively do. It requires that you step into your heart, soul, and spirit to do it. Right? And whether that purpose is something small or big, it doesn't matter. Step into it. Because when you are, the focus is off your pain and it's more on your purpose.
Yeah, so that's so true, because contribution, when you focus on your contribution to helping others and supporting society, it's from that joy flows, because
Yes,
that supports your
yes,
happiness. So,
yes.
and just sharing that with a young person, it's like their contribution to the world, and to focus on just what their passion is, what they can contribute, and just that will lift your whole spirit when you kind of just keep that as your focus. What can I contribute to help, this world, help others? What's my passion?
What's your gift? This show is called Raising Our Gifted Children, because when
Yeah,
you look at every child, there's a gift they have there, isn't it? There's
yeah,
something that
everybody
they
has
can
their own
do,
unique
something
gift.
that's their forte. And if we help develop that, instead, no, well, I want you to be a lawyer. No, you've got to go to school and go and be that. And really
Yeah.
what they are is they're a brilliant Lego builder,
Mm.
They'll find their path if we nurture those seeds that are growing. If we
Yes.
nurture with love and water, structure and tools, they'll find their path. But let's nurture the gift that they've been given instead of dictating it's worthless, they should do this, right?
Yeah, and that's where we can start, just at preschool, just from the
Yeah.
very first, learning stones that they have, nurturing.
In the womb. They'll let you know, I'm a martial artist. Goong, goong, goong. While they're in the womb. Sally, what do you have to say about that?
Self-love. Never
Yeah.
underestimate it.
Yeah.
Mirror it to your children.
Yes.
We as parents, I know I can have this monkey on my back with a stick that goes bang, bang, bang. When I do something, we'll second judge ourselves. We are our own worst enemies. But if you want your child to maintain self-love, you have to show it.
Right.
And that means us. So, to come back from something, we all have our dark moments. Yes, to be service to others, but service to ourselves. Value ourselves. Love ourselves.
First and foremost, it's the old oxygenate yourself. How can you help anyone else if you're gasping for breath?
Yeah.
Put the oxygen on yourself, fortify your own lungs. Now you've got the power to help someone else. But it's also what you resonate. When you're in pain and in turmoil, you resonate that out. When you're in self-love, you resonate that out. We are what is within us.
You cannot give what you don't give yourself.
Yeah.
So that's where unconditional love comes from. Our love is conditional until we love ourselves enough, until we top our own love up. That is what we give to our children, and our children, as they get older, will notice it more if we're self-critical. If we don't, they will pick up on that, and hey presto, that goes with them too. They will then think that they will be criticizing themselves. They'll get the monkey as well in their own heads.
Or they give you a lecture. Mom, cut the crap.
And it's a thing of like not taking things personal.
Yes.
You'll know when your self-love is up, because when somebody says something, it won't get in there, because your self-love is up. And so it's for us to continue to nurture that. It is so important. It's the elixir of life. It is the elixir of life. Self-love.
Are you being called for a food crisis again?
It can't be, because he's already had loads. This is the thing about motherhood as well, isn't it? Before, I would have prepared when I did things. I would have had a couple of hours. I'd have done my makeup. Whereas now I've got a knot in the back of my hair, and I've got a child in the background going, Mum, I'm working.
I don't care.
How old's your child?
He's 8.
Still at that demanding age, yes.
I did a charity fire walk a couple of weeks ago, and it was for the school. The charity is called Attitude Trust, that helps children that have been traumatized by the school system. I did a fire walk, and all his classmates were like, "Oh yeah, your mum's so cool." And Edward was like, my son was like, "That's just mum," and it didn't even,
faze him. No.
Whatever. She walked across coals. So what?
What's for dinner, Mum?
Absolutely. Get me my tea.
Priorities.
I think that's something actually very important that you've hit on there, is that I don't care how old your children are, they always see you as mum.
Yes.
Right? And, one of the biggest problems that I've had a challenge with in the last few years is for my kids to see me as Sara, especially as a woman that's been growing into self. In my own self-discovery in this last few years through doing these shows, it has been a real journey in discovering and allowing myself to be, right? And it's that they haven't liked a lot of my choices, but it was all part of my self-exploration. And some of the choices didn't work out, some of the choices have, but it's allowing me to explore. Just because I'm mum, just because I'm older, the big 64s this week, so yeah.
Oh, everybody, that's amazing.
Thank you.
You hadn't just said it.
Everybody thinks that you should have all your shoot together by this time, but no, folks. You know, I'm still juggling it up in the air and seeing where it's landing. But I think that's also that exploration, no matter how old you are, of discovery, self-discovery, what you can do, where you can go, is what keeps you younger, what keeps you going. But I think sometimes it's really hard for a kid of any age to see the person in you, because they see the mama in you, and it's very hard for them to see that you are the same person, just you are represented perhaps in a different way.
Yeah. One other thing I'd like to touch on regarding anxiety and depression in teens is that there's a number of minerals and vitamins that also can cause issues. Is magnesium, for one, that can bring up, it has the symptoms almost of anxiety. So this is the importance that you could touch on with food. So the rise in depression and things could be linked to a number of things. Also, the fast food business has gone astronomical. So the nutrients that are being taken on in a growing body, it's really important. I have magnesium deficiency sometimes, and so I understand what it feels like. I'll have palpitations. I'll have problems sleeping. My mind won't be as clear. Well, all these things could be labeled as anxiety, depression coming on. Yeah. So there are a number of issues or things to pull in on this. The importance of feeding the body healthily as the child grows is another thing, and to pass that on to the child. So the great thing of cooking with your child, the understanding of nurturing the body. So that's another layer of this as well, that should be on the peripheral somewhere, that it isn't always, it may not always be there, but it's important to take into consideration what's going in, so they're getting exactly what they need to grow. Because I've mentioned one mineral, but there are others that can cause, B12 can cause tiredness. And then when you're tired, where do your thoughts go? But you have a job to stay positive when you're tired.
Oh wow, thank you for raising that point. That is such an important point that gets overlooked, because the chemical reactions in our body play a huge part as well.
Absolutely.
And especially in teenage years. You know, they're going through such a massive change. You know, they talk about the terrible twos, and then they get into the terrible teens. And the thing is, with the terrible teens, they can talk back now. You know, and then you start seeing the exorcist thing as their head starts spinning around. You know, and you look at them and go, my child. And you don't look forward to it. I promise you go through it. And, you know, one moment at the angel, and the next moment is like, oh my God. But yes, you do. When my kids were teenagers, I had them on a bunch of real good nutrients, soluble ones too, that went through their body. And like when my son broke his femur, snapped it in half. They were absolutely astonished that he had snapped it in half, because femurs shatter. They splinter, they don't snap in half. His snapped in half. And they were also astonished at the bone density for a 13-year-old. And also the fact how quickly he healed. And it's because I had him on a bunch of nutrients that helped him in his growth. But, you know, the spiritual nutrient is just as important. And if you do see a child that has a tendency to get over anxious, or to get over angry, or get over depressed, finding their tool, understanding their trigger, knowing when it's coming on, and finding their tool. For me, for depression, anxiety, is music. Headphones on, listen to the music. There's actually something in the music that resets your frequency. It's not just calming you down and pleasing to the ears, it resets your frequency. Find out what it is for them. Maybe it's a nature and work, a walk in nature and work, or walk in nature. Maybe it's playing tennis or ball or doing something. What is it that's their release point that brings them back to their equilibrium? Yoga, whatever it is. Find out when they're young, and teach them that when they recognize those issues coming up, what to do about it, because you're empowering them with a tool for the rest of their lives.
Absolutely. My son is Archangel Michael, so when he's anxious, Archangel Michael.
Right, exactly.
I got in the Doreen Virtue Archangel Michael cards, so we can pull a card for herself. So it's so spiritual, believing
Yes.
in more than this. So
Yes.
when you're anxious and you're doubting yourself, to understand that there's more than this body. Yeah. So linking them with that as well
Yes.
is and however it's beautiful and it's a gift.
Correct. Yes, you know, please do not ignore your psyche. Your psyche is you know, is that core. And, you know, it's not just about the head and the heart. You know, the spirit and the soul have an intelligence. They need to be well balanced as well. And it's about balancing all of that in order to be a whole person. And I think, you know, I think also something we used to do in my family is we'd put on something like Queen, We Are the Champions, and blast it out, and everybody would dance to it, however badly. You know, the kids used to always dress up and put on plays, and then as teenagers, it would be something else. But I had a room where they could get noisy and rowdy.
Yeah.
You know, they did it with their friends, whatever, and it didn't matter. That was their safe zone, you know, and they could, you know, let it all out. And that, we're always telling children, no, be quiet. Oh, don't do this. Oh, don't do that. You should be this. You should be that. And it's like, well, when are we allowing them to be what they're meant to be and who they really are? When are we allowing them that self-discovery? And yes, sometimes we have to pull in the reins and go, gone too far. But for me, it was teaching them to walk on the edge and to know instinctually when to get off. Otherwise, being prepared to pay the price. And they a couple of times walked that edge, fell off, and they had a price to pay, but they learned, and they learned, right? And that's, we want them to push boundaries. We don't want them to just constantly be safe, because you're not safe by being here, you know, hiding.
And you grow by going out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
But one thing I just want to quickly touch on, music. Music affects your mood and how you feel. But I've observed a lot of musicians, the lyrics they're putting out in their music, where they're singing about suicide and making suicide an option. I'm shocked, because I've got 2 young boys and they repeat those lyrics. And they're singing suicide. When I was a child, that wasn't a word that I regularly heard, but now through music, it's been sung as an option and given to young people as an option. So I think that is also, you know, a contributory factor in what we're seeing happening, as that being made as a choice.
And that's where the discussion has to come in. You know, it's not banning the music, because they'll go and listen to it from somebody else's whatever. But it's actually looking at the conversation.
To be more conscious in what they're creating.
But, you know, saying, what is suicide? You know, there is no coming back from suicide. If you commit suicide, you're it. That's it. You're done. Yeah, the soul and spirit comes back to live again because you didn't do it right this time. You know? And, you know, to let them know how final it is.
It's not a quick escape. It's not an easy way out. That,
No. And the thing, I think the very important thing is that I think the really important thing with the core of everything here is the self-love. But to always have a safe zone where it is a conversation through love. That a child can come to you with anything, that you can go to a child and address everything, and they know that it's coming from love.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if
as
you have
parents,
absolutely.
Sorry, Sally, you go ahead.
And if they come to you with anything, is that you don't then allow your buttons to be pushed, because you need to be you need to come from that loving space. So that means you drop your own judgments when they talk to you, because then they will continue to talk to you. Because when they feel that it's pushing one of your buttons, they'll shut down.
But the other thing is that you may be a parent. We've got to understand, we are custodians of our children. We do not own them. They are not our property. And to also understand that we don't know it all. We're here to discover ourselves. We're here to learn ourselves. We're not here to know it all. And for you to actually say to your child, you know, I haven't faced this before, or I don't know, but let's do it together. Don't be a know-it-all to your child, because how come they're hurting and you know it all? So how come you're letting me hurt, Mum? Right? So it is saying, I'm doing my best. I'm sorry if I've let you down. Be willing to say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I've let you down. I'm sorry I wasn't there when you needed me. What can we do now in this moment?
Yeah.
And then do
And
something
and
silly.
I think if you're open with your child and you let them know that you really love them and you just want the best for them, but you might not have all the right, you're not perfect as well.
Right.
You're just a human being and you make mistakes as well, and you kind of acknowledge that you don't have all the answers, but you just truly dearly care and want their happiness. That's, you're there to support them. I think that in itself, just knowing that, I'm hoping that you're there unconditionally, giving them your love.
Right.
That's really empowering for them to know.
They came into the
We don't
world
have
giving
the
us love.
answers because we're
Right.
parents.
Right.
We're on
We're
the
not an
same learning
encyclopedia.
journey,
Right.
but we care and we want the best for our children. So it's just being there.
We are not Google. Right.
Thank goodness.
You can't Google us, but you can ask us questions and we'll endeavor to find the answers.
Yeah.
Right. But we don't know it all.
I think
I guess just letting them know that as well, and
Yes.
then maybe they'll think, yeah, okay,
You're human too. Yes, Sally?
yeah,
absolutely, and it's great to let them see there are mistakes as well.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
that's part of learning. They accept mistakes when they're trying to walk. They'll fall down, but they'll still get back up. And so it's important for them to see, that we are human. We do make mistakes, and that's okay, because you're allowing them exactly the same thing, to be human.
Right.
We're not meant to be perfect, and I think that's part of the thing of mothering, is that or parenting, you think you've got to be this ultimate, it's almost like this alter ego gets handed down to you when you become a parent, that you must know it all, you must do, and it's not at all. Show them who you really are, your humanness, and it's a lot more fun as well. So when I make a boob, I let him know, and
Right.
you can laugh about it. It's okay. It's I'll joke, it's okay to be human. It is who we are.
It's also okay to do it your way.
Yes.
If your gut, your instincts, or your moral judgment is saying do it this way, and you know that the child is thriving and no one's getting hurt and it's good for your family, don't let somebody else say, oh, no, you can't do it that way. You've got to do it this way. And it's like, as long as the child is okay and the family dynamic is okay, it's okay to do it a different way, right? And don't take other people's judgment of it personally. That's all they know. They're not willing to see it from your point of view. So let it go.
Yes. Yeah.
Especially,
that's a lovely thing.
Yeah. Because again, especially as we're in a world where we are we're on a surfboard riding a big wave. And, we could fall off any time, and this wave is going this way and that way, and we're going through tunnels, and we're over the top, and we're underneath them. And it's like, we're trying to stay on, the surfboard ourselves while, carrying the kids under each arm. And, this is not easy. But when love is the center of all, then that opens up the communication. That opens up to the joy and the laughter. And that opens up to giving them all the tools they need in the world. They'll find the tools they need in the world, but that love is something that they'll know which tools serve them, because they're seeing it from that love aspect.
And one of something Sally and I discussed prior to this show was we're both single parents, so we're both mums looking after our kids in the best way that we can possibly, within our means. And one of the challenges I know a lot of single mums are probably facing at the moment is, within my household, there's a sort of female energy, and I sort of discussed with Sally, I feel like maybe there's that male energy is missing, and how can I, accommodate, compensate for that?
Yes.
That's something, as a single parent, that, I think maybe a lot of mums are feeling challenged on that subject as well.
Yeah, this is where you want the extended family of the uncles, or or a grandfather figure stepping in, or big brothers or something like this. But then of course obviously if it's big brothers, then you've got to do your vetting. But yes, having somebody that is that somebody who respects your way of bringing up your child, but brings in those other lessons that they're going to learn from a man that they can't learn from you. Though I'll tell you this though. Every guy that you see is successful today that was brought up by a single mum is somebody that advocates for women, right?
Yeah. And also I found that I've had I felt more issues about not having a man when my masculine side was in need of some TLC. So we have the feminine and the masculine.
Yes.
And I've always felt that it was lacking in the home when my masculine wasn't quite on the ball, or I was repressing it in some way. So it's almost been a marker for me on working on my masculine energy, being a single parent, because that's where the no comes from.
Mm-hmm.
That masculine and that steadfast kind of feel. So it's helped highlight what I needed to heal on my own masculine energy, being a single parent, because it's been 5.5 years I've been a single parent. So it's, you go through layers, don't you, and you learn many things. And when a child is young, that masculine isn't quite so much of a concern because they're a babe, and
Right.
as they get older, you start to notice it more. So so it's been quite interesting for me on my journey, my personal healing journey, then to embrace the masculine side of me.
But this is where you guys step up and support one another. This is that single mom's village.
Yes.
Get up and share together, share your concerns, and maybe amongst you have somebody that's that brilliant uncle figure, or, brilliant granddad figure, or brilliant this and that was only too delighted to step in and take all the boys out, or do something with the boys that's kind of the guy thing, and that's the thing, is this is where we've got to go back to the village mentality. The village is only as strong as the people in it, and they didn't leave anyone behind. And if somebody didn't have the spouse, then the village stepped up to fill that need. And this is, I think, where we have to stop hiding and get out into our communities and say, we need this figure. We need this figure. Who wants to step up? There's people who want to, they just probably don't know how to.
And also it's for us to ask for help, because I know as single parent, sometimes I take on the mantle of, I can do it all. And that's part of the almost a single parent mentality, is that you do it.
Become the martyr. I can do it all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
So that's a thing of there are willing people who will. We just sort of say, help me. Yeah.
Yes.
And then they can come in.
Yes, as it should be. You're not meant to do it all alone. You're not Superwoman, right? Otherwise the Yorkshires would have been done all on their own.
And there would have been mom in that
way. Here's a tip, by the way, as Christmas is coming: make Yorkshire puddings with eggnog. Oh, delicious. That's the thing, we don't have enough laughter, and I think this is something that's really important. If kids see you laughing, if they see you just suddenly doing something utterly silly, it'll be, oh, Mom, you're being too silly, but it lifts up the heart. They love it and they'll join in. And if they see you laughing, and this is the thing, sometimes just watch a funny movie together and everybody have a goddamn good belly laugh, right? Or, come out wearing something peculiar and do something. I used to embarrass my kids, especially as teenagers, and just to embarrass them, just to get them out of that seriousness, or to show some silliness and to remind them of all of that. And it was, oh, Mom, you think that I've crucified them. But it was just kind of put things back into perspective. Because they're so easily embarrassed at teenagers. But, you do it obviously within limits and things. But, when it comes down to it, they know that it comes from love, and that's the important thing. And you have to have that, keep that channel open of communication.
Yeah.
They have to know that they can come to you with anything without persecution.
Yeah.
Right? That you're willing to sit down and talk, no matter how deep or how dark, or even who it's for. Sometimes it may not be about them, it might be about a friend, and they don't know how to go about helping them. Right? So it's important. But laughter, smiles, the smile makes the world go round, and there's a great song with Jennifer Lopez and Manuel, whatever his name is, from Hamilton. And it's, love makes the world go round. And he just has this thing there, but love begets love, begets love. And it's true. It is.
Yeah.
A smile will beget a smile, and laughter will beget a laughter. If we want joy in our lives, then we need to step into our inner joy, exude it out and invite it. And that will be your playing field.
Definitely.
It requires us to work on it. So in closing, my darlings, would you please let everybody know how they can get hold of you, what you offer, and any parting words, Duwati?
Well, I'm on Facebook, social media, Twitter, at magnificentyou.com. That's the website. All the links are on there. And all the different tools and resources that I'm creating are on there as well to support young people. There you go. That's me.
She has wonderful meditation links for children as well. Great ones. Audios that are great for them as well. So
it's just taking 5 minutes just to allow yourself to calm and slow down.
Excellent. We've done a show on that, folks, but Dewati's been here before. All you have to do is just put in her name on selfdiscoveryradiotv.com and you'll just put in Dewati and you'll see all the shows that she's done with us here before. Please go back and listen to them. There's a lot of wisdom there. And
thank you, Sarah.
And Sally.
If you go on www.sallysaint.co.uk, that's my website. I'm on Facebook. I'm the UK founder of Conscious Parenting, so I work with parents, and I also work with people who aren't parents on parenting themselves. So Conscious Parenting is for all. I love what I do and I'm passionate about what I do. If you go on my website, you can find all the ways to contact me. So reach out, because when we are facing our darkest moments, this is us as the adults, it's important that we link with somebody else who can actually guide you through where you are. You are not alone. Right. And it is important for us all to ask for help. So the help and the change we want in this world, we can activate by actually doing the change on ourselves. So we work on ourselves and we show those children of ours that this life is worth living.
Mm-hmm. So here we've got, somebody is helping you ignite your inner child out to be a better parent by allowing yourself the self-love, the healing love of your own inner child, bringing it out so you can ignite your child in that truth without repeating old patterns, creating new wonders. And then you have someone who's helping your children find that beautiful balance and equilibrium and tool to help them in every aspect of their lives. Life gets too much, exams get too much, friends get too much, the news gets too much. Into the yoga, into the meditation. It is a tool that will last them a lifetime. So between the two of them, we've got you covered. So thank you so much, ladies. It's been wonderful, as usual, to have you back on the air here with us.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Sally.
And no doubt we'll have you back on again. And I love repeat offenders. And, when the knowledge is good, we've got to keep on going. And yes, you know what, folks out there, as Dewati said, it would be absolutely great to have a teenager out here speaking to us. We're going, I'm going with the fact that I had 3. They're all pretty well in their 30s now. But and I had the neighborhood kids as well. So I see it from that point of view. And yes, although it was a long time ago, I was once a teenager. So I do know the emotions and the feelings that you go through it. But if you are a teenager out there and you have heard the show, or mums, that you've got a kid that you think is willing to come and talk to us, we would love that, because we want to hear it from you, what you need from us. All right. So wonderful. Thank you so much, Dewati and Sally.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Until next time, folks. Bye for now. For more wonderful shows like this, please go to selfdiscoveryradio.com, podcasts, and see our lineup. And if you wish to support us, we have a funded button. Please stay tuned for our next show.